Hi, Lon, Judy.
Hi, Mary. Hi.
Very nice to meet you.
I don't.
Go ahead and get started.
Oh, I know.
My name is Lon Johnson. As you know, I'm a candidate for Congress here in the 1st Congressional District. The district is all the efforts in and obviously one of the major concerns of this district is the Line5 pipeline. It starts from central Canada and then runs across there, crosses the straits through the northern lower down to south of Canada. And there's been a lot of concern about the age of this pipeline, the materials of shipping, and the location. About 2 weeks ago, there was a story about a leak that occurred here in 1980 in Delta County. So we thought we would go ahead and just have call a town hall meeting and discuss this. What I'd like to do is just to talk very briefly about the pipeline, and then let's just have a conversation, give you what I know of the pipeline, and then have a conversation with each of you with open questions. I see we have an Enbridge representative here, which is a good thing. If you want to stand up and introduce yourself.
Wade Olson, I'm operations manager for Enbridge. Line5 is actually our maintenance base for the tracks and railroad tracks from the hotel here. We hold a lot of our trainings and meetings right in this room. So I'm, of course, very interested in what we have to say here today.
And so this is not like what?
Yeah, excuse me. I'm also Brian Gross with Enbridge, and I work right here in Escanaba. I too believe that this is an important topic that we all need a good discussion on.
And this is not designed to be, this is designed to be informational, and I welcome and I'm thankful, and it's great that they're here. What we'd like to do first, though, before we start, is if everyone could go around and just introduce themselves and what other, if you hold elective office or if you represent an organization, if you could just give us a short word about yourself.
I'm Mary Fanlin. I live here in Escanaba.
Judy Schwabach. Most of you know me as being a very strong Republican, but I'm here to find out about the Enbridge line and what the solutions would be.
I'm Eleanor Peters. I'm from Minnesota. I'm interested in learning about
Gary Thornley, Jared Uber, I've also been with the Water Fix Coalition.
Roberta Bureau, here with my granddaughter, Catherine. Interested person.
I'm Jean Rose, Escanaba citizen, and live on Lake Michigan.
John Wilkes, I'm in Escanaba, I'm a retired school teacher. I'm also interested in education and history on
Gerald Bengry, former county commissioner, retired educator. I'm very concerned about the pipeline. Once the spill happens, we can not going to do a damn bit of good to the same year before it happens, because it will cause a lot of damage. Better off alone.
Lucas Brackout, Delta County Democratic Party.
Scott Salolo, current sheriff of Dickinson County, and also running for 100th district.
Bill Sharon, retired business owner, lifelong resident of Sarah.
Carol Sharon, Delta County.
I'm Dick LaCosse, retired international vice president for the United Steelworkers, and I'm just interested in all of what's going on.
Lewis Carroll, retired.
And I'm Maggie Rose. I'm just from here, Escanaba.
Evan Bonsall, concerned citizen from Marquette.
Briefly, I'm 44. I live just outside of Grayling. My address is Cuffcaster County in the generation of my family here in Calcutta. You know, my great-great-grandfather, my great-grandfather, my grandfather, my father left me land and water, and water that I could hunt and fish on, and we could make a living on. And that really what is this entire debate is about. You know, we have a challenge here in northern Michigan and the Upper Peninsula. It's very many people do, but we also have to make a living. It's very important that we make a living up here. This is not always, while it's beautiful, and this is a beautiful playground for many tourists and for us, we also have to make a living. We have a responsibility to make sure that we can provide jobs for our residents and also do it in such a way that many generations beyond can also enjoy the land but also make a living. I want to say very clearly, I'm not opposed to oil and I'm not opposed to pipelines. Pipelines are the safest way to move oil. Our country has increased our energy output massively over the last 10 years, and that is a great thing. That's terrific. The more energy independent we can be, the better off we are the better off we are on many fronts, economically and in foreign affairs and so forth. But what the problem is that as we've increased our energy output, our energy infrastructure, and we're seeing the results right here, we need to build more pipelines in our country. This is pipelines are the safest way to move oil, and oil is still a very crucial part of our economy. What we have, though, is a 63-year-old oil pipeline. And I'm going to actually ask the Enbridge folks to come up, and if you can make a statement if that's all right, and then what we just do here is take questions. What we have is a 63-year-old oil pipeline, and it's running, starting in central Canada, running across the Upper Peninsula, and going back down through the Lower Peninsula to Canada. So essentially what we have is a Canadian oil transport company using Michigan as a shortcut. Canada's getting its oil. Very little of that oil, I think we'll hear varying estimates, but a small percentage of that oil stays in Michigan. And we're using Michigan, Canada gets its oil, Enbridge makes its money, and Michigan, frankly, is taking all the risk. We're taking an enormous amount of risk. In 20 years' time, nations will be going to war over fresh water. Not our nation, but nations will be going to war over fresh water. In every one of our lifetimes, fresh water will be the most valuable natural resource in the history of mankind. Those are two facts that we know. More valuable than diamonds, more valuable than oil, more valuable than gold, more valuable than anything. Fresh water will be the most valuable natural resource in the history of the world. We have an obligation to show the world how to better use and protect fresh water. We have 21% of the world's fresh water right here. We have a responsibility and frankly, an opportunity to show the world how to better use and protect fresh water. And when we do that, we can create an entire new economy, an entire new industry here in northern Michigan. The same way that Stanford University, they produce the curriculum, they produce the graduates, those graduates stay in Palo Alto, so they did that. They did that not knowing computer science was going to be big. They did not know computer engineering was going to be a big deal. We know those two facts to be true. Fresh water is the most valuable natural resource, and we know that billions of dollars will be spent on trying to understand how to better use and protect it. Billions of dollars will be spent. And so we need to position ourselves as the world's thought leader on that. And think for a moment what would happen if we had another Kalamazoo River spill, or if we had another Flint water disaster. All credibility. If we went to another country, or if we went to an industry and said, hey, here's how you protect fresh water. Oh, you guys? The ones that damage the Great Lakes, the ones that ruin Flint's water? What would happen to our credibility? No one would listen to us. You know, in fact, they'd be probably coming here with another supply our waterfronts. We've got to show the world how to use and protect fresh water. And when we do that, we can create thousands of new jobs. That, I believe, is what our future can be. And it's no different from what our ancestors did. Our ancestors led the world in international trade. We led the world in international trade, fur trade, in the 1700s. Then we led the world in mining, copper and iron ore. Then we led the world in lumber. We built the American West. And what was really all that about was our ancestors coming here and looking around and saying, what do we have and how do we build a place where we can stand and getting to it. They went at it, and they didn't wait on the government. They didn't wait on somebody from down in Lansing. They didn't wait on somebody in Washington. They just started working, and they carved out a beautiful place where people could stay and succeed. That's what really this is about. How do we create a place where we can stay and succeed using the assets that we have? Fresh water, great lakes, beautiful land, and terrific people. Because that is all still here. Those assets are all still here. But we're going to have to invest in and protect those assets if we're going to start carving out the next thing for us. And I believe the next thing for us is fresh water and showing the world how to use and protect it. And that's really what this debate is about, is this pipeline is emblematic of that debate. We're seeing all across our freshwater spectrum, whether it's hatcheries or invasive species or fracking or pipelines. We have corporations that are seeking to use our public good of fresh water for very temporary profit or putting our public good at too much risk. And in this instance, we have a pipeline. And again, that's 63 years old that has not, to date, been independently tested to be proven to be safe. We had a situation here in Delta County where, in Hiawatha Force, where in 1980 we learned from a newspaper report 2 weeks ago that 5 barrels were leaked and that 4 barrels were recovered. 1 barrel, apparently, again, this is all per the report and per Enbridge, and we'll let Enbridge tell that story a little bit more. We had 1 barrel missing that was not able to be recovered. This was in 1980. Fast forward, I mean, correct me on the timeline, around 2011, 2012, sometime around that, Enbridge came back to work on that site, and they tested the water and the soil. And in so doing, discovered that there was excessive amount, there was contamination of the soil and water table. So they, as I understand it, went and then notified again the Forest Service and hauled out 825 tons of soil to the Delta County landfill. Now, I spoke to Enbridge. They said that they, I'm sure, you know, I don't think they're lying here. They said they hauled out 825. They talked to Delta County. That soil was tested before it was taken to the landfill to be acceptable. And they removed that soil. There's really 2 questions here, though, that are troubling. One, why wasn't that test site continuous, that site, or that initial week, why wasn't that tested continuously? Why wasn't that tested continuously? We had it for basically 36 years or 30 years. We had a site that was contaminated from a known spill, that Enbridge knew about the spill, and it wasn't continuously tested. Why wasn't that tested? What other sites are there out there that we don't know about? Number 2, why wasn't this done much earlier? You know, if you know you have a leak, and I get it, 1980 was a very different time period. We had very different attitudes. We had very different regulatory environments. But at the end of the day, we're talking about Great Lakes here. Why wasn't this tested continuously, and why wasn't this done?
You want me to answer?
Yeah, well, actually, I'm going to sit down and have you speak, if that's okay. Because I welcome debate. This is everyone. Look, Enbridge as a private company has a right to make their case. Everyone here has a right to make their case, and this is a town hall. This isn't just a monologue here. That's what I'm hoping for. I'm going to talk for about 5 minutes, and we're done, and then we just take questions. So, look, the bottom line is, can we trust? Who do you trust with our future? Our future is our fresh water. Our future is these Great Lakes. That's our future. And we have a 63-year-old oil pipeline running through the Straits of Mackinac, running through some very sensitive areas here. And the question for us is, can we trust? Who's telling us this is safe? The very same company that was responsible for 2010 oil leak down in Kalamazoo, the pipeline, which, by the way, was the largest inland oil disaster in the history of the United States. These are the same people who are telling us this is safe. Trust us. The same government officials who told us, oh, that put water, relax. I think the exact words were relax. Don't worry about that Flint water, it's safe. When it comes to our Great Lakes, we have to be ever vigilant. The question is, do you trust those two entities with our future, our children's future, Roberta's daughter's future? The question is absolutely not. That's what it is. And we have to take matters in our own hands. If our government officials won't be responsive, then we need to replace them with people who will be. You have to be ever vigilant about our fresh water. There are some that will, in my closing here, there are some that are going to talk about the cost of propane. This Line 5 is very important for propane. It's very important for, propane is very important for the Upper Peninsula. But remember, within what's shipped inside this pipeline are three substances: light crude, synthetic oil, and NGLs, natural gas liquids, which is where propane is. Those three. Okay. Those three substances are shipped to Rapid River, right here, just north of here. And the propane is extracted at that site and then distributed to, yes, sir?
Question. Light propane.
I'm sorry, NGL, light crude, synthetic crude, okay, and NGL, natural gas liquids, which is the property where propane comes from. Those are the three primary substances.
They're not shipped at the same, one thing at a time as pipe.
They're in batches, sir. They're in batches.
Oh.
Yeah, it's about 10,000 barrels is a batch of the NGL, and there might be multiple batches, and then there'll be crude following it.
So the propane then is taken to Rapid River, shipped to Rapid River, extracted, processed, and then distributed throughout the Upper Peninsula. And then what's moved, and then the rest is pushed off. But that Rapid River site, which is 120-some miles west of the bridge. So if we can shut the Line 5 down at the pipeline, I don't believe that the price or distribution of propane will be affected to the residents of the Upper Peninsula. Yes, sir.
I'm concerned about the cost. Are they paying taxes for using our land?
Well, why don't I close out, we can just take questions, and then we'll hear this statement, and then what we'll do is, we'll just take questions and go back and forth. Look, this is designed, no one person has all the answers. What we need is a vigorous debate on this pipeline, and that you and our government officials and the media understand that debate. That's what we want. I'm not afraid of debate, that's what we should have. It's my contention that we should shut this pipeline down at the Straits of Mackinac, and we should work with the Governor's Pipeline Task Force to find alternatives. That's really it. I'm not opposed to pipelines, I'm not opposed to oil, but I just think the risk is too great for a 63-year-old oil pipeline in the Straits of Mackinac. That's my position. And
so you want to dead-end it at the Straits?
Dead-end it at the Straits, correct. Why don't you, so that's what I'd like to do from here is just take questions, or let Mr. Enbridge, I'm sorry, what was your name?
Mr. Enbridge, there you go. Don't you wish?
Grab a chair and, yes, sir. And if you could limit it to 5, 7, 10 minutes, and then we'll take questions.
Yeah, right.
Yes, sir.
You talk about the 63-year-old pipeline that's deteriorating. Why isn't there a way that can be done without spending a whole lot of money? For example, let me give you an example. I had somebody come in and pour sewer lines in for me without having to dig up everything. Is there a possibility that Enbridge would do the same thing, reline those pipes without spending buku thousands and millions of dollars?
Yeah. We their the pipeline industry, we have methods of keeping the pipelines, you know, in good condition through an integrity program. We use instruments that we run through the line, and they're getting better and better all the time. They're like medical grade MRI type equipment. They can look at the thickness of the pipe, measure it within micrometers of the thickness. It looks at the roundness of the pipe, and it also looks for this all. Yeah, I've got his lead in debating. I'm really not a little nervous, but I'll try. The thing that we got going for us right off the bat with Line5 is, yeah, it's 3 years old, but the design and the materials we're using them were very good. The coating on the pipe, back in the 60s, they used a coal tar metal coating with fiber reinforced, and they put it on hot in place, and they would melt this material and put it on a pipe and paint it on around they put the fiber on first, and then they painted it on. So the problem with that was the fumes were really toxic. So in the 60s, they came up with a different type of coating that was actually a tape coating. And they had a big machine that would tape the coating right on the line. And, well, everybody thought that was great, but it ends up that the tape coating did not hold up like that older 50s coating with the coal tar. And the pipeline down in Lower Michigan that we had the leak on, that was a tape coating. The design of the company that built the Straits Crossing is the same company that built the Mackinac Bridge. Same company before Line5 and Mackinac Bridge built the Hoover Dam. And this is the steel they used. I'll pass it around.
Don't throw it at anybody, you'll kill them.
That's actually and it has that enamel coating around it. And they designed the way they designed the line, the engineers, they positioned where the pump stations go. They put the pump station at the Straits on the south side. So that means the lowest pressure is coming into the pumps in Mackinac City. You got your low pressure, and then you'll boost it up at your pump station. So it's on the south side. So the pressure in that pipe that's that thick is not even as high as twice the pressure of your garden hose. It's under 100 psi is the average pressure. So it's under low pressure. It's got extra thick pipe, and it's got this big coating on it. Unless we run those tools through and we measure, and we can see if there's cracks, we can see if there's anything that's happened to the thickness of the pipe within micrometers.
How do you repair the cracks that happen if you find them?
Yeah, if we do, we have an integrity program, and in the last 3 years, we've spent over $75 million in our integrity program of Line5. I put some figures together here that you might even heard of. Most of our employees that maintain this pipeline are union employees. We have the steelworkers local, but the employees that take care of Line5. In 2015, I put some data. We paid out over $7 million in wages. The degree program we used union employees. In 2015, we paid out $10 million for union employee work. We use union employees because they're best qualified and they do a good job taking care of our pipeline, Line 5. In fact, I hired Brian Van Oss, who is a longtime IBW employee. He's our technical supervisor, and he oversees the maintenance of the pump stations and all of the instrumentation along Line 5. Construction projects in 2015, we have a construction division. We're right now rebuilding our Mackinac City pump station. We spent over $5 million in union employee wages in 2015 alone. So together, it's $22 million in wages paid to union workers that are those are workers that are working the UP and Lower Michigan, taking care of Line 5.
Next question.
Yep.
This is an impressive piece of steel.
Yeah.
It is. But we all know nothing lasts forever. We want to be proactive. Great. You guys are building all over the country in Canada.
That's why we have the
You can build one that goes
program.
around the Great Lakes, down through Canada, starting without having to put us on the
Yeah, I need to speak on that. Something that should be delivered probably more often is a cathodic program system. If anybody's familiar with that, it's an anode and a cathode that's hooked to the pipe. It's to preserve the pipe from rusting. So if you just take a piece of steel or iron and stick it in the ground, it'll rust. It'll rust over time, it'll corrode and fail. With cathodic protection hooked to that pipe, it can last indefinitely. It preserves the condition of the pipe and prevents corrosion.
That's another technology that's been added to this pipeline to protect it. Besides that coating I talked about, besides those inline inspection tools that are doing our integrity. Yes, sir.
What does Enbridge pay to the state of Michigan in taxes for this pipeline?
It's $21 million was what we pay about annually.
Annually to the state of Michigan?
State of Michigan.
Between property and sales tax.
Yeah, I guess Lana also talked about the leak. We did have one leak in the history of the pipeline in the Hiawatha National Forest. It was near Isabella. It happened in 1980. I got a copy of the leak report from our files. It was reported. Unfortunately, the reporter at the Detroit Free Press did not report all the facts on that report. I also want to explain, okay, it says on the report here that 5 barrels were lost. 4 barrels were recovered as a liquid. Okay, 1 barrel was soaked into the soil, but oil-soaked earth was trucked from the site. So
In 1980?
yes, in 1980. So, oh yeah, the 4 barrels were recovered as liquid, but the other barrel was not completely lost. It was soaked in the soil. They dug up all that they thought they got it all with that trucking off that oily dirt. And we keep a any leaks we have, we got a history on it. So the reason that happened was they wanted to install a valve in 1980 to protect that area and the rivers in that area. So when they installed the valve, they used this, it was called a Morrison sleeve. And it was a technology at the time that they would put on the pipe 2 Morrison sleeves, they'd weld them on, and it was a device that they could seal the pipe so the oil couldn't get out, and then they could cut it and put that valve in and install it. Well, the pipeline itself didn't fail, the original pipeline. The Morrison sleeve had a crack in the weld, and they found that was a problem with those Morrisons, and we don't use that anymore. But then we went back and repaired that sleeve, and then we, as a follow-up, we've hydro tested. We actually filled the line with water took the oil out, filled it with water, pressured the line up under water pressure up to 1.5 times the maximum allowable operating pressure. And that was done to make sure that the repair was good.
So 835 tons was hauled to the Escanaba landfill.
Yeah, and part of that reason is that's how much we wanted to excavate for our upgrading of that valve. And when we do an excavation like that, we'll do soil borings. We'll hire an engineering firm. We hired one from Iron Mountain. They do the soil borings. We just want to make sure we know what we're going to be digging into. And then if we see, oh, there was a history that there was a leak there one time, we want to see if there's any lasting indication of that. So.
If the leak occurred in 1980 and then you retest it because you wanted to update that valve or put new work in, so you tested it again. Number one, why isn't there a program within Enbridge to test every previous leak site? Have you gone back and tested every previous leak site? Do we have a listing of every previous leak site? Because right now the Forest Service, look, it was 1980. Again, times were different. But Enbridge said they called the Forest Service, called the state officials.
It's all recorded. But who they called and what time and date.
Right, yes. Times were different there, records were different, there weren't computers, internet, and emails.
No, they thought they got all 5 barrels.
Sure.
They dug up the oily dirt, so they thought they got it all.
But do we have a comprehensive listing of various leaks that are just like, that may have occurred just like this one? And then has Enbridge gone back and
we have
tested all those?
Yeah, we have a...
Because we had 30 years here where there wasn't a leak.
We have an environmental department, and they would know that questions. Okay. They're the ones that answer the questions, and they're the ones that manage all that. Like all of our pump stations have monitoring wells, like we put in around that site. That's a good way of using monitoring wells. You drill down and you put casings in, almost like a drinking water well. And we have them all the way around our pump stations. Because a pump station is a place where you're most likely to have any leaks, if you have any, because there's a lot of flange fittings, there's a lot of small piping, things like that. So we have a program that we test those monitoring wells to be proactive. And every year we test them to see if we have any contamination in any of the wells. If that happens, then our environmental program will work with an engineering firm.
But in this instance, we had a known leak.
And it was all cleaned up in 1980.
Sure.
And those traces that was found in that proactive, boring were very minute amounts.
Sure.
But we wanted to make sure, now we have to excavate that much soil to do the work. So let's take it all to the landfill to make sure we got it all.
Sure. And I understand that. But my problem is that for basically a period of 32 years, you had a known leak site. Why wasn't that continuously tested every 2, 4, 5 years? You thought
32 years ago we thought we got it all.
So I think that goes to show that certainty here is not a given by Enbridge.
Well, any business, any business.
What?
Absolutely.
There's
There's risk. You look at consequence, and you look at. We have a risk management plan too, and you look at likelihood.
So there's never 100% guarantee.
Well, yeah, it's like what's the consequence now? Is it more likely that we're going to get nuked by some of these countries that have nuclear weapons now?
Sure.
Wouldn't that be a terrible consequence? Well, what's the likelihood?
But you can understand our concern. Look, there is no 100% guarantee. All right. There's on any in life there are no guarantees.
That's why you use multi-layers of protection. You use inline inspection tool programs of 3 different types of tools. We even ran another technology 2 years ago. We ran it's called a smart ball. It's actually a ball. You load it in the line, just like we do the tools. It goes down the line. It gets super sensitive sound to sound. So if there was a leak anywhere in the line, as it goes down, it would pick that up. It has GPS built right in. So if it heard something in the line, the smallest little release of pressure, it would mark the GPS coordinates right here. Dig up. That's how the inline inspection tools work. If it indicates something, it tells us where to dig, so we can dig up that
So
pipe.
you guys had thought you'd cleaned it up and you were wrong.
Well, that's Isabella, and that's earth. And you're suggesting that a pipeline be built in the earth, but getting around the Great Lakes. What we're here to talk about is, I thought, the risk under the Mackinac Bridge in the water. Okay, so how often?
No 100% certainty.
Well, there isn't in life, period.
Okay,
but
so
how often do you run? And my concern is, how often are the tests run on the pipeline under the bridge? And do we have shut-off valves? And
Yes.
what kinds of technology are there to make sure that if something happens, we can stop it? And I want to know how often you check this line, in particular the one under the bridge.
Yeah, under the bridge, we have two lines, and they're two 20-inch lines built with a pipe that's 0.812 thickness. And we average running one of those tools a year for the last 12 years, about one a year. I think 11 years we've run one of those tools. But we run different kinds of tools. You know, we're looking for thickness with one tool, we're looking for roundness, and we're looking for cracks in the welds.
And you do that once a year?
About once a year, one of those tools is run of a different kind.
Per line?
Yes, and you have to run those tools, you know, by regulation. Our regulator is the Department of Transportation, and
well, it's good it's not the DEQ.
We're required to run them once every 5 years, but you know, we run them about one of the tools every.
How disruptive to your system is running that test? What I'm trying to get at is, maybe we would feel more comfortable if the tests were run more frequently, or if we felt that, you know, what's the deal here?
Yeah, we load the tool on the north side at St. Ignace. We load it in, we call it a trap. It's basically a series of valves, and you can open up, you can drain the oil out, then you can open up a door, put the tool in it,
okay.
Close it, and then do your valves, and it goes right in with the oil. Okay. Another special tool we ran there, we hired Oceaneering from Norway, and they brought a tool over.
Norway the country, or
yes,
Norway?
Yes, the country. And it was called a tether tool. We put a special door. They took that normal trap door off. We put a special one that we had a cable going through the door, and we ran the tool, and it's powered, and you can control it. You can go forward and reverse. And they came over, and they had Brian was a big part of that project.